In this video, we'll be making a fantastic looking expansion to the already perfect Inquisitor transport ship from LEGO Star Wars. The only major thing I thought missing from this ship was a nice base to put it on, so that's exactly what we plan to do in this video. So if you like the sound of that, make sure you smash that subscribe button and let's jump right in. So in part 1 of this video, we took a look at the Scythe, and we gave it some really needed upgrades to not only the ship, but the minifigures as well. We gave the ship some really needed retractable landing gear, and also removed those really ugly missile launchers from the sides of the wings. I don't want to spoil all the stuff that we did in this video, so if you haven't seen part 1 of this, you should definitely go and check that out. But toward the end of that video, I said that I wanted to display my Scythe displayed in its landing position. And I wanted to create a base in the style of the new Star Wars dioramas that we've been seeing from LEGO, and that's exactly what I plan to do in this kind of video. We'll be covering everything from the plan I have and why I want to make this, to you seeing me put the bricks down, and then not only that, I'll provide instructions in case you guys want to do this yourself. And those will be available on my newly revamped TommyCbricks.com. Thank you, Miles. But the scene I really want to recreate in one of these diorama styles is when they first land on the markets of Tatooine. This scene just really sticks out to me as something really intimidating, when the Inquisitors first walk out of the ship. This scene was one of the strongest in Obi-Wan if you ask me, you know, before and all that rubbish. But going back to the scene, I really like how this is just straight up in the middle of a Tatooine marketplace. Like, they don't care that a Tatooine parking enforcer is just going to show up and be like, "You can't park that there, mate." And then you have Obi-Wan terrified that he's going to get found by these Inquisitors, peeking at them from this sandy archway, mortified that he's about to be found and slain. This scene is up there with some of the Vader fights. For me, it's just so intimidating, and really does make the Sith a lot more scary, and especially shows the Grand Inquisitor as being somebody as calm, collected, and knows what he's doing. Well, once again, before. So considering we get all of those figures in this set, I wanted to recreate this scene without the need of necessarily buying extra figures, and just a nice complementary extension to the model that we got from LEGO. So I guess the first thing to do is to measure out the Scythe, and find out how big this base really needs to be. Now this base actually has to be pretty damn big. Just to fit the ship on there, it needs to be 34 by 58. And this certainly will be the largest diorama that I have ever made. The only annoying thing is that is just covering the ship. If I wanted to do the market stalls on either side, which I was seeing in the comment section from subscribers in the previous video, I would have to make this base even wider. So I think at least for now, I'm going to stick to just doing the ship. But obviously just a big tan plate surrounded in black bricks is not going to cut it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the extra pieces I have and try and build up some terrain just around the ship and tile a fair majority of this thing off. Obviously you won't be able to see really under the ship, but so long as the surrounding of the ship is tiled and the Inquisitors have a good place to stand, I think that will be all good. And speaking of Inquisitors, I just want to talk about something that we talked about in the previous video. I mentioned in that video that I didn't like Reva's hairpiece all that much, and I went and replaced it with the Mordo hairpiece. Now, a lot of people have said in the comment section that maybe the Makari or Valkyrie hairpiece would look better on this figure. See, don't think I'm not looking at subscribers' suggestions. So if you want your suggestion looked at, you should definitely hit that subscribe button and leave a comment. And considering I like the Mordo piece, but not afraid to show off what you guys could potentially do to your set, I figured I'd take both of these figures that you guys were suggesting, put the hairpieces on this new Reva so you guys can get a gauge of what all 3 hairpieces look like on this figure. Personally, I still like the Mordo piece, but can fully understand why people would really like these other hairpieces, so it's up to you guys what you really want to do with your figure. Another suggestion I saw is that I didn't tile the underside of the wings enough, so I got some more inverted tiles and I inverted more of that wing. This way that underside is just done that slight bit better, really making this model feel like the UCS model that I think it is. But enough of the previous video, let's go and see what I did with this base. You can see here that I've tiled off a fair majority of it, leaving a gap where the ship is going to sit as I don't want to waste bricks. But you can see here I also introduced dark tan and a lot of jumpers to try and give some variation to this build. This means the Inquisitor's ship can go directly on it, and there's even spots for the 3 Inquisitors standing outside of it, looking super intimidating, exactly what I wanted with this kind of a build. But this would have been fine if this set only came with 3 minifigures, but we all know that this set came with 4. Unfortunately, with the way that I built this model, there's no real place to put Obi-Wan. Like I said before, there's no real way of adding the markets of Tatooine on this model without it being super wide, and as much as I'd like to do that, I don't think I have enough shelf space to be able to display that even when this model's finished. And considering this would be a set that I plan on keeping, I want this to be able to actually go on a shelf and not take up an entire IKEA cabinet. So I think there's only one solution for this: another diorama. Like I said before, Obi-Wan is off in his own little corner, fairly far away from where the ship is actually going to be positioned. Now, although I could just bring this location closer to the ship, I think it would look much better as a display piece if I just made it its own separate diorama. diorama. That could go off to the side of where the ship's positioned, then that way it makes things a lot easier to display on shelves for me and for anyone who might want to build this at home. So I think the next step is probably to do a little bit of designing. Throughout the sketch here, I definitely wanted to make this a really small diorama. We're going with the biggest one we've ever done and also the smallest we've ever done. Mainly because I'm running out of tan pieces here. All I really want to do is make it so Obi-Wan is covered and is peeking out from around the corner. It looks like this building is mainly made of sand, with some tarps on the top that I don't know if I'll be making, considering I don't know if I'll build that high. The only thing I'm worried about is how I'm going to do this girder piece on the front. You never know, I might be able to use some sort of roller coaster rail or something like that to try and get this shape. Anyway, now that we've got the sketch and I know roughly what I'm building, it's time to build. So one thing I learned very quickly when building this is the fact that we weren't going to be able to do this in the traditional way. A lot of this needed sloped pieces to try and get that shape of the building, and considering we're only really making a quarter of an arch, and this type of half sphere type building is quite hard for me to build in Lego, I think I did a pretty good job at getting the shape down, and we had to do something very funky with the girder piece on the front. And this is the Obi-Wan side of things. I actually think the building turned out very well, considering how little I've built of it. I really like all the texture along the floor, it matches the build of the Inquisitor's Ships 1 very well, and I even did the same thing I did there where I tried to work in some dark tan to just try and give a bit of colour variation. I've even given Obi-Wan a specific stud to stand on to make it look like he can look round at the Inquisitors from his corner. Before we put him in there, would you guys like to build this yourself? Well, if you want to, you can head over to TommyCbricks.com and download the instructions. TommyCbricks.com has a multitude of instructions of the things we've built on this channel, and if you guys didn't know, some of the mods are even free over there. So it's worth definitely checking out if you guys have been interested in my channel, and just taking a look at instructions over there is a fantastic way to support us here on the channel. And now without further ado, I think we should add the minifigures and the ship to our final display and see what it looks like. And this is it, and honestly this is a fantastic way to display your stuff. I really do think that this type of a base just elevates this model ever so slightly, even though there's not much going on with it. And like I say, for those who don't want to display it in its flying position, this isn't really that expensive to go ahead and expand your model with. But I guess it does depend on how much you like Obi-Wan as a series. For me, the series was pretty good, and I did like it. There were some silly bits, of course, but I'm so glad LEGO did make this ship, and if you want to hear more of my opinions about this ship, you can check out the original mods video, where I go into some detail about what I liked and what I didn't like about this model. You can check out that by clicking the screen now. I'll see you guys over there though.